This video, we delve into the chilling narrative of Shelley Nance. A sorrowful account of envy, deceit, and homicide that will leave you speechless. This is the lethal envy fueling fixated roommates and the astonishing slaying of Shelley Nance. Raised in the quaint Texas community of Italy, Samantha Shelley Nance soon earned acclaim for her creative flair and kind-hearted nature. From childhood, Shelley displayed a fervor for artistry and invention, packing notebooks with illustrations that captured her lively fantasy and sharp eye for precision. She matured in a close-bonded neighborhood. Her relatives fully endorsed her artistic goals, urging her to apply herself earnestly and regularly join school art competitions and community showcases. Delighted by her numerous successes, her folks inspired her to chase renown in the artistic realm. Shelley's abilities thrived further in secondary school, gaining praise from educators and companions. Those acquainted with her portrayed her as sociable, resolute, and driven, with an upbeat vibe that brightened those nearby. Apart from art, Shelley relished tunes, journeys, and cherishing moments with her kin and pals. She perpetually hunted for motivation from her surroundings. Following graduation, Shelley sought higher education and secured admission to the Art Institute of Dallas, signifying a major advancement in realizing her aspirations. Shifting from a modest locale to a lively metropolis was exciting yet demanding, but she stayed hopeful amid the shift. Shelley swiftly adjusted to her fresh setting, concentrating on her coursework and building tight connections with peers who matched her enthusiasm for creativity. At the school, Shelley committed to refining her abilities in digital graphics and conventional artistry. Her instructors acknowledged her effort and gift, frequently praising her originality and commitment. She earned acclaim for her unique aesthetic approach, merging timeless methods with contemporary electronic approaches. Beyond lectures, Shelley immersed herself in Dallas's dynamic creative community by touring exhibits and gaining ideas from the urban's abundant heritage. Ashley Vera, a peer learner and one of Shell's dearest companions, resided with her in the identical residence as they tackled the trials of academic existence side by side. Their bond strengthened even more. Ashley frequently mused on Shelley's generosity, always motivating and bolstering them regardless of the hardships. In spite of the pressures of her education, Shelley was devoted to preserving equilibrium by joining gatherings and keeping in touch with her relatives at home. In addition to her campus routine, Shelley enjoyed a wholesome partnership with Nathan Schuck, a fellow pupil at the Institute. They bonded over a profound love for artistry and devoted countless hours chatting about their imaginative goals. Pals and schoolmates commonly spotted them at campus functions, teaming up on assignments and envisioning how to transform their creative pursuits into professions. Yet, Shell's existence held its share of hardships. While chasing her objectives, small troubles started emerging in her social group, especially in her bond with Nathan. Certain associates observed that Nathan's housemate, Daniel William, was exhibiting surprising territoriality and resentment. Initially, Daniel seemed like a subdued and withdrawn figure. But gradually, his conduct toward Shell became progressively alarming. Though these worries felt trivial at first, Shelley stayed centered on her prospects. She was resolute to finish her program and carve out a place in the creative sphere, assured that a promising tomorrow lay ahead. But abruptly, a deed of gruesome aggression demolished that optimistic outlook and permanently changed the paths of all who cherished her. On the morning of September 11, 2009, Ashley Oliveira, Shell's housemate, came back to their dwelling in Lake Highlands, Dallas, following sessions at the Art Institute. She hadn't encountered Shelley in days and was becoming anxious, particularly as Shell's folks had also been unable to reach her. As Ashley stepped into the residence, she sensed an eerie quietness. Shouting for Shell, she got no reply. Cautiously, Ashley neared Shell's sleeping quarters entrance, which stood partially open. She softly nudged it wider and faced a horrifying view. Shelley rested prone on her mattress, crimson marks soiling the linens. The setting was dreadful. Shaking, Ashley promptly dialed 911. Battling to keep her tone steady while outlining the awful find. She was flooded with astonishment and dread. Upon the initial rescuers' arrival, they promptly locked down the zone and verified the grim reality. Samantha Shelley Nance, aged 20, had perished. Sleuths from the Dallas Police Department were summoned to probe. The preliminary review showed that Shell had endured a savage onslaught, receiving 42 puncture injuries to her throat and rear. Undeniable proof of a fierce and profoundly intimate violation. As there lacked indications of break-in, probes deduced that Shelley likely recognized her assailant or permitted entry voluntarily. Moreover, the lack of proof for violation or robbery prompted officials to determine the intent was intensely intimate. Reports of Shell's devastating passing shocked the locality. The demise of such a gifted youthful lady was devastating for her companions, relatives, and peers. Ceremonies in her tribute occurred where numerous expressed their sorrow mixed with cherished recollections of Shelley. The pointless aspect of the offense left all yearning for explanations. As law enforcement steadfastly labored to rebuild the occurrences of that fateful day, examiners started by quizzing Shell's nearest associates and kin, seeking hints to pinpoint the culprit. In interviews, Ashley related her final exchanges with Shelley and supplied info on their domestic setup. Nathan Schuck, Shell's partner, underwent extensive interrogation as the probe advanced. Investigators promptly revealed a knotted mesh of desire and envy that directed them to the individual accountable for Shell's homicide. As authorities reached Shell's residence, they encountered a tableau exposing the utter savagery of the assault. What used to be Shell's chamber, a secure haven for her uninhibited expression of artistry, had transformed into a nightmarish spot. Examiners located her position downward on the mattress, pierced repeatedly in her rear and throat. The intensity and type of her injuries implied the onslaught was erratic yet profoundly intimate, prompting officials to conclude the perpetrator was someone Shelley knew intimately. Among the most bone-chilling aspects was her suffering 42 puncture injuries. Subsequently, the coroner affirmed the damages were caused by a blade, with the bulk of the punctures focused on her torso since no traces of resistance appeared in other parts of the residence. It seemed Shelley was surprised or swiftly subdued, incapable of self-protection. In spite of the immense ferocity, the incident location remained strangely tidy. No shattered entrances, panes, or signs of intrusion, nor evident marks of conflict. Following exhaustive scrutiny of Shell's chamber, examiners systematically scoured the remainder of the dwelling for any leads that could guide to the slayer. They detected no proof of robbery. Shell's possessions, encompassing her portable computer, purse, and adornments, stayed undisturbed. This firmly indicated the intent was intimate rather than illicit larceny. Authorities meticulously gathered specimens from spots where the assailant could have deposited remnants, striving to collect genetic material. A vital clue was a diminutive, crimson impression found close to Shell's chamber portal. After assessment, it failed to align with Shelley's footwear dimensions, prompting examiners to surmise it pertained to the offender. An additional unsettling detection was a ripped polyethylene Ziploc pouch in an adjacent receptacle, which seemed to hold Shell's crimson fluid in strands. This disconcerting revelation prompted inquiries about if the perpetrator removed an item from the incident site, and if yes, the reason. Given no evidence of intrusion, authorities pondered if Shelley had permitted her assailant entry. Their attention rapidly pivoted to her intimate associates, familiars, and amorous ties. As they commenced probing her individual links, Nathan Schuck, Shell's partner, emerged as a prime focus. As Nathan frequented the residence, officials pondered if strains in their bond had intensified. While scientific specialists persisted in their evaluation, sleuths conversed with Shell's companions and residents. It was verified that Shelley was observed alive the prior evening and none noted any apparent troubles. Nonetheless, a resident recalled spotting a dubious person hovering close to the dwelling vicinity on the murder evening. Though the portrayal was imprecise, a male of medium stature clad in somber attire, it offered authorities their initial viable clue. At headquarters, Ashley Oliveira, Shell's housemate, furnished a schedule of happenings preceding the corpse's unearthing. Being away for days, she instantly perceived an anomaly upon return. The dwelling was exceptionally hushed and Shelley ignored all communications or messages, which alarmed Ashley greatly. She noted that though Shell's union with Nathan was mostly affirmative, a worrisome strain existed between Nathan and his housemate Daniel William. Daniel, a reticent and guarded person sharing with Nathan, had displayed a disquieting fixation on Shell. Companions observed he frequently observed her remotely and appeared envious of Nathan's tie to her. Ashley disclosed that Shelley had shared with her feelings of unease near Daniel on several occasions, but she opted to dismiss it to prevent discord between Daniel and Nathan. With these fresh insights, authorities started redirecting their scrutiny. Daniel had perpetually been around. But maybe his quietude concealed a more sinister fixation. Had his sentiments for Shell become perilous? As lab outcomes came in, authorities revealed discoveries that would astonish even veteran investigators. As they probed further into Shell's existence, their inquiry honed in on her nearest circle, commencing with her partner, Nathan Schuck. Nathan seemed evidently stunned upon hearing of Shell's passing, yet cooperated completely with authorities. He supplied a thorough chronology of his locations on the murder evening, asserting he was socializing with pals before heading back with his housemate, Daniel William. Notwithstanding Nathan's upset appearance and readiness to help, examiners followed routine procedures. They examined his device usage, online profiles, and correspondences with Shelley for any conflict signals. Nathan admitted to sporadic disagreements, but maintained they were standard for couples. He upheld that their connection was affectionate and nurturing. However, amid a sweep of his dwelling, officials unearthed a Ziploc pouch holding locks of Shell's tresses and hints of her crimson fluid, instantly sparking doubts. Nathan refuted awareness of the pouch and proposed another might have positioned it in his space. The examiners realized caution was essential. When queried about his housemate, Daniel William, Nathan paused before labeling him as rather peculiar and secluded, noting fresh strains in their camaraderie. As authorities delved into Daniel's history, disturbing trends surfaced. Familiar faces depicted him as interpersonally clumsy and challenged in building intimate bonds. Past peers from the art school remembered Daniel as isolated who evidently idolized Nathan intensely. Certain claimed his devotion verged on fixation. This prompted beliefs that Daniel begrudged Shell's role in Nathan's world. Observers mentioned Daniel regularly uttered subtle hostile comments when Shell was present, seemingly driven by envy. A pal of Nathan informed authorities that Daniel once declared, "She doesn't deserve him. She's ruining everything." Daniel's eccentric actions and nearness to the incident promptly elevated him to prime suspect for sleuths. Examiners scrutinized monitoring clips from the dwelling site to assemble a sequence. While lacking lenses aimed straight at Shell's access, adjacent recording sees Daniel arriving solo late on September 10 evening. He looked strained and bore a compact sack. Afterward, recording depicted him departing early the following day, sans the sack. His actions schedule mirrored when Shelley was presumed slain. As doubts intensified, authorities acquired a permit to inspect Daniel's quarters. Their findings were profoundly alarming. Reproduced images of Shell, some apparently snapped covertly, and a diary brimming with alarming, fixated notations concerning her. Expressions such as, "She's always in the way and Nathan will see the truth soon," indicated fierce envy and fury. When presented the proof, Daniel refuted participation in Shell's demise, alleging the images were faked and asserting he remained indoors all evening. Yet, his excuse swiftly collapsed when authorities found purchase slips from a local Walmart timed to the murder night. Monitoring footage portrayed Daniel acquiring sanitation items and hand protectors, suggesting efforts to obscure a brutal deed. Sleuths sensed they were nearing Shell's slayer. As accusations against Daniel piled up, the formerly silent and reclusive housemate now seemed to conceal profoundly troubling truths, and the probe was advancing into a terrifying stage. Daniel's preoccupation with Nathan had grown markedly evident, nearing fixation. Companions remembered his excessive guardianship of their bond and how noticeably disturbed he grew when Shelley appeared. Per Nathan's workplace associates, Daniel routinely voiced veiled critical jabs about Shelley, deeming her a diversion and faulting her for impeding Nathan. Examiners started to presume Daniel's envy and bitterness might have surged into something gravely hazardous. They persisted in excavating, questioning those lately associating with him. Per Daniel's ex-companions, he frequently seemed irritated when Nathan referenced Shell or arranged activities with her. An associate recollected Daniel once uttering, "If she weren't around, things would be so much better." Back then, it appeared offhand, but amid Shell's passing, it assumed a much darker implication. When authorities obtained a permit to examine Daniel's private effects in his chamber, the inquiry advanced substantially. Sleuths uncovered alarming notations mirroring Daniel's intensifying animosity toward Shell. One diary notation stated, "Nathan would see the truth if she were gone." And another declared, "I know what I have to do now. He'll thank me one day." These eerie words exposed the psyche of a person devoured by envy. One who perceived Shell as a barrier and yearned to eliminate her from Nathan's existence. As examiners scrutinized Daniel's deeds on the murder evening more closely, additional condemning proof emerged. Monitoring footage from a nearby Walmart depicted Daniel executing questionable acquisitions mere hours before Shelley was presumed slain. He procured sanitation goods, hand protectors, and a pack of sizable Ziploc pouches, identical to those later located in Nathan's residence holding Shell's tresses in crimson fluid. A timestamp on the slip verified Daniel was at the outlet circa 9:45 p.m. on September 10, 2009. Examiners theorized that post-purchase, Daniel bided time for the opportune instant to enact his scheme. With Ashley absent and Nathan oblivious, examiners believed Daniel probably accessed the residence stealthily, likely due to familiarity with Shell's habits. They theorized Shelley either admitted him voluntarily, viewing no danger, or Daniel employed a duplicate key Nathan stored there. Promptly, a pivotal tangible clue arose. Footwear retrieved from Daniel's storage tested affirmative for Shell's crimson fluid. Despite his attempts to sanitize them, chemical revealers disclosed remnants that solidified his tie to the offense. When faced with the results, Daniel persisted in denial, asserting the marks were unlinked to Shell. Nonetheless, examiners believed sufficient proof existed to officially accuse him of her homicide. The accusations against Daniel solidified swiftly, and what began as a regrettable, aimless passing now surfaced as a deliberate deed propelled by fixation and envy. Although authorities readied to detain him, they recognized the path forward would prove arduous. Daniel upheld his blamelessness, but the accumulating tangible and indirect proof sketched a condemning portrait of a person overwhelmed by wrath and dismissal. Shell's kin and companions hoped equity was at hand for the gifted young creator whose existence was cruelly ended by another's fixation. As sleuths persisted fortifying their accusations against Daniel William, both concrete proof and testimony unveiled a profoundly disturbing tale. Genetic analysis affirmed Shell's crimson fluid on Daniel's footwear and within his vehicle, while monitoring footage seized him acquiring hand protectors and sanitation goods the prior evening. His diary notations laden with rage toward Shell and adoration for Nathan intensified doubts. Device logs positioned Daniel close to Shell's residence during her demise, flatly opposing his excuse. Dialogues with learners underscored his envy further. A companion remembered Daniel resentfully stating, "She's ruining everything." On November 15, 2009, Daniel was detained and accused of first-degree homicide after examiners amassed adequate proof to proceed. His proceedings commenced in late 2010 and rapidly attracted broad press notice. Accusers contended Daniel slew Shelley from fixated affection for Nathan and profound loathing for her, offering a compelling argument depicting the offense as planned and driven by mental fragility. Throughout proceedings, accusers emphasized Daniel's damning diary notations, dubious acquisitions, and scientific proof connecting him to the offense location. Nathan attested that Daniel's conduct toward Shell had intensified in territorial and hostile ways. Conversely, the opposition claimed that though Daniel might have behaved unusually, the proof was indirect and insufficient for conviction. In a poignant instant, Shell's mother shared the immense anguish her family suffered. Following weeks of consideration, the panel deemed Daniel culpable of first-degree homicide. The magistrate, noting the offense's ferocity and forethought, imposed life incarceration without parole eligibility. Though Shell's kin sensed partial equity, the sorrow of her absence endured. Her companions and peers commemorated her essence via creative displays and heartfelt homages, preserving her inventive essence. The Art Institute of Dallas founded the Shelley Nance Memorial Scholarship to aid emerging creators in chasing their visions. In her native Italy, Texas, yearly creative gatherings occurred bearing her title, and her folks turned vocal champions against aggression. These initiatives sustained Shell's heritage, motivating numerous. Her woeful tale serves as a ghostly warning of how uncontrolled fixation can yield catastrophic outcomes. If this case captivated you, remember to thumbs up the video and join the Hidden Cases files. We upload crime narratives nightly. Until our next encounter, remain alert, remain watchful.